Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. And so today, I want to talk about installment plans. There's the streamlined and traditional installment plans for the IRS. These are options to help you pay a tax liability that you really weren't ready to write the check for at tax time. This is a time of year at this, the time of this recording, it is May. This is the time of year where people start getting letters from the IRS to say, hey, you owe us. We'd like for you to pay us, please and thank you. So then, it's like, what do you do? What are the options if you don't have that money? And this is also why I stress for my business owners to set aside 30% of your gross income for you to be able to pay your taxes at tax time and not have to go through all of this drama. One of the things that is very prevalent, especially among the online industry, because the potential to earn money is so high, okay? There's lots and lots and lots of ways to make money on the internet. There's billions of people telling you how to make money on the internet, but very few are telling you what to do on the backside of that and how to prepare for taxes. And so, people go earn these six-figure income, new money, right? And so then they go and spend it, live that life, buy the cars, buy the houses, go take all their friends out to eat, not preparing for the back end when it comes time to file these taxes. And then folks are in trouble, okay, because they have spent all the money living that lifestyle and not prepared for, to write that check to Uncle Sam, who will quickly snip your lifestyle, just nip that right in the bud because they come in for their stuff, okay? So that's why I want to talk about that. So let's talk about the two types of installment agreements that there are. So first is the streamlined agreement. This is if you owe $50,000 or less. You can have a streamlined agreement. You can actually go and set up this agreement yourself online. Okay. And so what this does is it sets up a payment plan for up to 6 years to pay off that debt. Okay. And so you want to, so you can just go online and, you start making monthly payments and the IRS can approve or disapprove. Okay. But generally with the streamlined agreement, you just go on the internet and you put in your information and they say, okay, great. You pay us this much per month. And, within 6 years and life is good. Okay. So that's the streamlined agreement. Now, the great thing about the streamlined agreement is that you don't have to submit any financial information. You don't have to, talk about your income. You don't have to, your living expenses, all of that stuff. You don't have to share that stuff in the streamlined agreement. Now, the traditional installment agreement is a little different. Now, if you owe $50,000 or more, then you have to submit that information. Okay. You're going to have to submit your living expenses, your income, your assets and all of that. And your assets include if you own a house, if you have a retirement account, if you've got a pension, whatever you have, if you've got investments and all of that, you have to submit that to the IRS and they say, okay, you pay this amount. Now, the thing that people try to do, though, is when they have to submit that financial information, then they're like, try not to submit everything thinking, okay, the IRS ain't going to know about this, $10,000 over here. I'm going to need for you to not. Because what that is fraud. Okay. Because the reason you don't want to lie to the IRS is on the flip side, if they find out that you're hiding this money, then they're going to call that whole tab and they're going to want it now. Okay. And then you're going to be in big trouble. So you don't want to lie to the IRS about your money. And yeah, people have tried and failed and it did not go well. Okay. So but here's in all of this, here's another thing too about these installment agreements. So the IRS has what's called a CSED. Okay. Now I told you that the IRS has 10 years to collect a debt from the date of assessment. So if you've had a bill that's been lingering, then, and you're really trying to get right, then the IRS is going to look at your CSED date. And let me tell y'all what CSED means, because it is the collection statute expiration date, CSED. Now, if you have a tax debt and the CSED is coming soon, the expiration date is coming soon, then if it's going to be before 6 years, then you're not going to get a 6-year payment. Those payments are going to be higher because they want their money. Okay. So, so sometimes when we're dealing with these dates, the CSED date, then you got to make a decision like, okay, if it might be an offer in compromise. And so then the IRS looks at, okay, here's a CSED date that's, 3 years down the road. Like, what can we reasonably collect in 3 years? Okay. And so if they say, okay, out of this 10,000, we can reasonably collect 6,000 in these 3 years, then they're going to settle for $6,000. But if you've got a $10,000 debt and they say, okay, well, based on what your income is, then we can collect all of our money, then they're not going to be willing to accept your offer. And like, I want people to really understand that it's not just you decide that you don't want to pay it or whatever. They look at your whole financial life to say, okay, yeah, you can afford to pay us and we won't spend monte hunte. Now, again, we understand that there's federal and then there's the state. Now, your state may not have installment agreements. Your state, they can make up their own rules. 50 different states, 50 different rules. So when it comes down to installment agreements, your state may be like, whatever, we're taking this, and have a nice day. Okay. So you really got to know what your state is. What I'm sharing with you now is on the federal level. Now, one of the things that we talked about with these agreements, whether it's an offer and compromise or installment agreements, is that you have to stay current with your tax filings. Okay, you have to file on time, whether you file by the due date or you file an extension and file by then. Because if you don't, then you're breaking the rules, you're breaking the agreement, and they can call that tab, like, we want all of our money. We no longer want the agreed upon amount. We want all of our money and we want it now. Okay. So now there's different ways to pay. You can have a direct pay where you can go to irs.gov and pay online. You can do a direct debit. And generally, if you do a direct debit, you get more favorable treatment if they, remove that money from your bank account. But everybody don't want the IRS dipping in their bank account, so they choose to pay, like, forget the treatment. I don't want y'all dipping in my into my bank account. I'll pay y'all myself. Or you can send check or money order. Okay. But you definitely want to make sure that when you do send check or money order, that it's on time and you get some tracking to make sure your stuff wind up there. I'm all about direct pay. Okay. Now with these, but when you have these agreements though, the one thing that people miss is that if you have refunds while you're in this installment agreement, the IRS is going to keep that refund. And really, this is one of those times where I tell people that you might want to produce a refund, okay? Because if that's going to help you get this tax debt paid quicker, produce the refund so that, you get to knock those payments off, okay? And as a matter of fact, I had that with a client this past tax season, where the year before we had a tax debt, and then she actually produced a refund, and that wiped out that tax debt. So boom, she's done. Okay, so that is one of the reasons when you would want to produce a refund. If you've got a tax debt that you're dealing with, that's going to help you knock that out even sooner. Yes, you're going to have less money coming home, but at the same time, you're also taking care of that tax debt, which is going to really affect your whole life. Because when people look at your credit report and they see that you have tax debt, that is like a huge red flag, because, knowing that when you owe that $10,000 or more, that the IRS can put a lien on your property and stuff, people aren't going to be willing to lend you money for a car or lend you money for a house, because when that property is sold or whatever, then the IRS has dibs on that, and then the lender gets what's left over, and the lenders ain't trying to have it. Okay, if they lend you money for a home and something happens, they want to be able to sell that home and get their money. When there is a lien, the IRS comes first, and that house gets sold, and then the IRS takes their share first, and then the bank gets whatever. They're not trying to have that. So just understand that when you have IRS debt that shows up on your credit report, that's not cute. So you really want to make sure that you abide by these agreements. If something happens and you can't, like I said, if you lose a job, if your income reduces for whatever reason, that you stay in contact with the IRS, stay in good standing with them. You want to make your payments on time. If you can't, make sure you call them and let them know what's going on. It might be that they suspend collection for a while until you get back on your feet. So now, but if they suspend collection while you're getting back up on your feet, that's great, but the interest is still accruing. Just so you know, okay? But those are the two types of installment agreements that's available to you. The streamlined, that's when you can go on the internet, you're 50,000 or less, you can set up your payment plan and you abide by that sucker no matter what. Come hell or high water, you make your payments. And then for 50,000 or more, that is the traditional installment plan. That's when you have to submit your financials, your bank statements, your retirement accounts, list of all of your assets, and then the IRS says, okay, based on your local and national averages of what it costs to live, living expenses, your, mortgage payments and all of that, this is how much you're going to pay us. They tell you what you're going to pay, right? That's how that works. So those are the different options. Now, with those installment agreements, though, you guys, it is so important. I can't even stress how important it is for you to really stay in contact with the IRS to say, this is going on, that's going on, because the IRS is really not trying to put you in jail. They're really not trying to put a lien on your property. But when you don't communicate, you force their hand to follow the law. That's what they do. The IRS did not create themselves. Congress gave them their jobs. The IRS is just doing their jobs. So you can't hate on them for doing their jobs. So if you don't like the laws, go fire your congressman. But I can guarantee you tax collection is going nowhere. Okay? It's been around since Jesus. It ain't going nowhere. The other thing that I want to make you aware of is if you owe that 50,000 or more, then the State Department will not renew your passport, or they will not issue you a passport. And you might be thinking, okay, well, I don't travel internationally. Let me tell you something. There are still some states that are not up to date with this whole ID change. So in some states, you really need a passport to leave the state. Okay, your passport, listen, do not screw up a passport. Because when you go for a job, you have your birth certificate and your social security card, or you have a passport. Having your passport, listen, you don't want to screw that up. And so when you have that tax debt of 50,000 or more, they cannot renew your passport, or they can suspend that baby. And you really ain't trying to have a suspended passport. Okay, I'm just letting y'all know. All right, so I really hope this helps you out in understanding the different types of options, the installment agreements that's available to you to set up payments with the IRS. If you need some help, feel free to reach out to me. You can book a call at www.homebiztaxchat.com. That gets you to my calendar. You can do these things yourself, or you can hire people to help you deal with it, because it can be a lot. Okay, it really can. Okay, so that's it for me, you guys. I hope you got some valuable information out of this. Share this with a friend, and thank you guys so much. That's it for today's episode of Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish, and you can come here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right, have a great day. See y'all next time. Bye.